Oversight, and I can tell you, even before he got the gavel, he was sort of considered the most aggressive oversight bull on the Hill. So before we talk about the shooting, though, I want to start with news of the day here. Your fellow Ohioan, JD Vance, was just named Trump's running mate. I am told that you're friends and your offices work closely together. But instead of asking you to sort of reflect on the pick, which I'm sure you're certainly happy about, Vance, as you know, was once a proud never Trumper. And I'm wondering if you've ever talked to him about his MAGA conversion, given that you're friends, and what you make of that.
I mean, I think he saw what a good President Trump was. That's why he's, why his position is a little different. We've not really talked about it. I was at the rally when he was running, so it'd been 2 years ago when he was running. It was in Dayton. And excuse me. It was a rally in Youngstown. And the president introduced him, and the president said one of the funniest lines ever. He said, JD used to be against me, but now he's kissing my, and the president used a different term for backside. And it was, he and I were sitting beside each other, and we laughed so hard. It was just one of those, typical President Trump. It was a great moment. And the crowd loved it and everything. And of course, he won that race with President Trump's support, and is now going to be, I think, our next vice president. As I said, I think he's a great pick. He is the American story. From the humblest of homes to now, I think they're going to win. I think he's going to be our next vice president of the greatest country in history. That is an American story. And what I like about him too is, there's the old line, never hurts to have smart people in charge. And President Trump is one sharp guy. I've gotten to know him over the last 8 years. And JD Vance is a smart guy as well, and that is, I think that's important too.
But do you at all worry that Democrats will take some of these comments he made a long time ago and try to use them against? Democrats
took a comment Dianne Feinstein made 40-some years ago and said, we're no longer going to name the Dianne Feinstein Elementary School after her. I mean, of course they're going to, that's just politics today. It's like, nobody pays much attention to that. They'll look at what he says, how he was on Meet the Press a week ago Sunday. Knocked it out of the park. So I'm not too worried about that. I think it'll be fine.
Now, let's talk about the
You probably even said something that, someone can make an issue of. I know I have. We all have. It's called being human. So whatever. That just happens.
And also, there's nothing Trump loves more than like a hardcore MAGA person than somebody who's a convert, right? So what about his Senate seat? So should the Trump-Vance ticket win the election, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine is going to be appointing someone to take that seat. You and Governor DeWine aren't exactly close, very different types of Republicans, but would you take that job if offered?
I'm focused on winning. You got to win first. So I want to help President Trump win. I want to help our Senate candidate. Bernie Moreno is a great candidate. I've campaigned with him. I've campaigned with Dave McCormick over in Pennsylvania. He's another great candidate. The wrestling guy, love that about McCormick. He wrestled at West Point. So I'm and then helping House candidate. I was in Minneapolis on Saturday when we literally just left an event for Mr. Finstad and Ms. Fishbach, a couple of our colleagues, when we heard the news of the tragedy in Pennsylvania. So we got to win first. Let's focus on that. And then, frankly, we got a lot of work to do, still the remainder of this Congress in the Judiciary Committee, starting next week with Chris Wray in front of our committee, and he's going to get all kinds of questions about what happened Saturday in Pennsylvania.
I'm going to get to that in a minute. But just to go back, I'm not going to let you off this season on whether you want that Senate seat. So you've been in the House forever, not to make you sound old. You ran for Speaker, didn't quite get the votes.
Didn't get the votes.
The only way I see you wanting to stay in the House if you're offered this job is if you plan to make another run for leadership someday. Is that something you're considering?
I'm for Mike Johnson. I'm for winning this race. I'm for doing our job, plain and simple. And most importantly, I'm for helping President Trump and JD Vance become the next president and vice president. So I'm focused on that. And as I said, we still got some reports we got to put together on our committee, working with other committees. We just released a great report a week ago on this GARM and what the crazy stuff they're doing. I thought it was a powerful report we'd put together, part of our oversight. So we got a lot of work to do. I'm going to stay focused on that and helping my colleagues. I've done more traveling than ever, helping our colleagues around the country win their races. So we have more than a 3-seat majority or whatever we're at now, 3 or 4. I'd love to have a 10, 12, 15-seat majority where we can, with President Trump in the White House, with Bernie Moreno in the Senate, Dave McCormick in the Senate, where we can cut taxes, secure the border, common sense energy policy, do the things that are going to really help America.
gone from one of the most despised members of the House Republican Conference to working with the team there. Wow.
Well, we got to win. Look, I said this on January 3rd, at the start of this Congress. And I said it because I mean it. I mean, I only say things I mean. When I nominated Kevin, I said, any differences that exist in the Republican Party, and I used my colleague from our state, Dave Joyce, more moderate Republican, I'm more conservative. I said, any differences that exist in the Republican Party, any difference between Jordan and Joyce are pretty darn small compared to the differences between Republicans and the left, which now control the Democrat Party. And that's what we better understand. So we better stick together if we want to stop where the left is going to go. I believe President Trump understands that. I think our Senate candidates, I think we're understanding that. That's how we need to focus if we're going to get things done for the American people that help our great country.
Easier said than done in the House Republican
Easier said than done, but
that's
what needs to happen.
Let's turn to Saturday's tragedy. You're very close with the former president, so I can imagine that the news was very shocking and definitely shook you. But I want to ask more about the security failures. We had a shooter who was, 150 yards away from the former president. You had people seeing this person bear crawl up the roof, alerting authorities. I mean, how the hell does this happen?
Yeah, I think that's the fundamental question. I would even make it even more fundamental, I guess, is there's a finite number of buildings that a bad guy could get on the roof of and do harm. So what is that number?
2.
Well, probably not even 2, because one of them we had the good guy on. Okay. So the good guy, so maybe it's just one, maybe it's just that one. There may be, if you look at the videos and the pictures, there's some other buildings there. So maybe, but it's a relatively small number. The fact that they weren't secure and we didn't have them secure, and I'm no expert in all this security, but people who I've talked to and who've commented on it, that seems to be the fundamental question. So why wasn't that done? And then you go from there, okay, when there was the alert, what happened then? What was the tick-tock and the sequence of things? There's a report today, I think, in the Post that says there was 86 seconds between when someone first said something and when the first shot was fired. I want to know, I'd love to talk to the local police officer who supposedly went up and confronted the bad guy and then back down, according to reports. I'd love to talk to that individual. And I'd really like to talk to, in addition to talking to Director Wray and Director Cheadle and the people who are coming, I'd really like to talk to the guy on the roof who took out the bad guy, the counter sniper, the sniper for the Secret Service who took out the bad guy.
Like, could he see him, right?
Like, for how long?
Yeah.
And what did he see? And did he try? What was the radio communication? I think all those are questions that need to be addressed. And the kind of questions I think Director Wray is going to get next Wednesday or Thursday, whatever the 24th is next week when he's in front of our committee.
Are there plans at this point to either subpoena or just invite those individuals you just mentioned to come in to testify?
Well, Mr. Chairman Comer's invited Director Cheadle. We've already had Director Wray scheduled. He's coming.
I mean those people on the ground.
Oh, yeah. We'll want to talk to them. Now, they're going to be, I think, the way these things typically work is I assume the FBI is going to say, we're going to talk to him first. It's sensitive, ongoing investigation. We need to da-da-da.
But the public wants answers here.
Very true. And so this is, and I tried to express this yesterday on the phone. We got a briefing from the Deputy Director, Ranking Member Nadler, and myself, and some of our staff yesterday on a little conference call. I tried to express that, and I think they understand the gravity of this and the importance of this investigation.
So you just mentioned that you were briefed by some of these top law enforcement officials. Are you starting to get any sort of answers about the shooter's motive, about why that roof wasn't secure? Nothing in terms of...
I mean, our staff is working on some things. We have, one of the neat things about our committee staff is we have a couple of former FBI agents who work for the committee.
Okay.
So I actually got on the phone with one of them yesterday and said, tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what we need to be looking at as a committee and as oversight duties and responsibilities that we have. And that was, I think that was helpful for me just to get a better idea of what we need to do. So we're just launching that and starting that. And of course, the FBI is doing the official investigation.
Who's at fault here?
Well, obviously the guy who's ultimately at fault is the bad guy who tried to harm the president, tried to kill the president. And then you think about Mr. Compatore, the Butler County Fire Chief, who just a heroism, and protecting his daughter, protecting his wife, and lost his life, the tragedy there. But then, of course, the failure to secure the buildings, that is that it's huge. I mean, that's the fundamental issue. I think that's not supposed to happen, particularly, as you said, from a distance that close.
Yeah.
Less than 150 yards away, I believe, is what the estimates are. It's not supposed to happen.
So the Secret Service Director, Kimberly Cheadle, said in an interview yesterday that the buck stops with me. Is that enough, or should she step down?
Well, I mean, I think there's probably a lot of pressure for her to step down in light of this, what happened here. What I'll say is...
Are you among those voices?
Well, I want to get the answers. I think there's a big failure. Who's ultimately responsible for not having that building secure? It seems to me it's the Secret Service, and if you're the director of the Secret Service, it seems like you're the one responsible. But I want to get all the facts, and I think that's the way you should operate.
So my understanding is there's been a lot of tension between Republicans and the Secret Service for a while now, and I'm not just talking about what happened over the weekend. Republicans have been pushing the Secret Service since the spring to do more to lock down the venue here at the RNC. They've been met with a lot of silence or pushback. Is there a concern, I guess, about the agency's leadership and the way they're sort of handling things that are not dealing with not dealing with President Biden, but regarding security of Republicans, security of the Republican nominee?
I will leave that to some of the other chairmen who have more direct Chairman Style and others in our leadership that deal with the House and the convention and that thing in the party. What I do know is Americans, a significant number of Americans, have real concerns about institutions and what they see happening there. And because we're the Judiciary Committee, we spend a lot of time with the Justice Department, the FBI. I think Americans have real concerns. I mean, we still don't know. We still don't know who planted the pipe bombs on January 6th. You would think we could get an answer to that question. We still don't know. Not that this is totally the FBI's area, but you'd think they could figure this out. Someone in the Biden administration could figure it out. We still don't know who leaked the Dobbs opinion. We still don't know who put cocaine at the White House. I mean, we think we have an answer to those questions. Those seem pretty important issues. And now we get to this, which is really important, where we almost had former president, the leading candidate to be the next president, almost killed by some 20-year-old who climbs on a building 150 yards away. Come on. That is not supposed to happen. So the confidence level, and I think this is important, is like these key institutions in our government need to understand this is what's happened and where the American people are right now. And I think rightfully so. There's a healthy skepticism of what's going to happen in this investigation based on some of the things we've seen over the last several years.
You're suggesting, or are you suggesting, that there is a disparity at the Secret Service and how President Biden is treated and how President Trump is treated? I'm
not saying that. All I know is there have been reports from, I think, credible sources who say the people around President Trump had asked for an enhanced protection,
right, and
that was denied. That makes no sense to me.
Was it denied? Because I thought there were reports that he got some, but there were some that were denied?
I'm going to what I've heard some people in your profession say.
Okay.
And then obviously there was the RFK situation. So look, I think that those are some questions that need to be answered as well. I'm just saying, in a general sense, some of these key institutions, particularly the Justice Department, there's a confidence problem, and I think a healthy skepticism that the American people have.
That leads to my next question. Some Republicans are calling for an independent commission for this probe. What is that, and why is that necessary? Do you like that idea?
I'm for whatever gets us the answers, the truth, as quickly as possible. And I know that there are people that I respect, smart people, who are saying, okay, is the same FBI who raided President Trump's home, they're the ones now doing this investigation? Is that a concern? I think for a lot of Americans, it's a concern. So how do we best get the truth? I don't know, but I do know we need the truth. And frankly, when you were, 113 days or something before the most important election we have, election of commander-in-chief of our country, I think it's important we get that information in a timely fashion. So that's what we'll be pushing to do in the Judiciary Committee, what Speaker Johnson and Republicans will be pushing for. And I think all members of the Congress should be pushing for is the truth in as short a possible time as we can get it.
So if Republicans don't necessarily trust the DOJ to handle this, who do you trust? Like, who would you want to take the lead on one of these investigations? Are we talking about former, maybe a Republican appointed DOJ folks? Like, is there an idea of what you want?
Maybe that's where we need to go. I haven't, I guess, wrestled with all that and figured it all out in my mind yet. But typically, when you do that, it takes a long time.
Right.
And I think this is something that we'd like to know. It's all so fresh in our mind, and we watched it in real time almost when it happened on Saturday. It's like it'd be nice to get answers in as timely a fashion as we could.
Yeah. Let's shift gears a bit to questions about Biden's mental fitness for office since the debate. There has been a bit of a divide amongst Republicans about how to approach this. Some want to seize on it and have sort of high-profile hearings, make Democrats take certain votes on Biden's condition, and then other Republicans say that the party should basically just sit back and let the Democrats implode. What is your view on this?
Let's just do our job. I think 60 million people saw firsthand. You can't unsee what you saw. You can't unhear what you heard, and the country knows what they saw there. Great performance from President Trump, and they saw President Biden. So I think that's now Americans have got it.
And you think that should be the end of the story? There's not a role for how
we still have work to do. We're in a lawsuit over the audio tapes from her special
definitely going to
counsel.
get to that too.
Yeah, we think we got a strong case. We think we're going to win. We think if they had a privilege, they've already waived it when they gave us the transcript and when the Attorney General chose to give us the full report. So, I think we continue with the work we've done and are involved in, but I think the country saw it firsthand.
Is there any risk that if Republicans probe this too hard, before Biden becomes the official nominee, you actually unwittingly help the Dump Biden movement?
Well, I guess you could make that argument, but again, I think we should be focused on doing our job and helping our candidates around the country, helping President Trump and JD win the White House. We need to be focused on that, and that's where I'm at.
So for those of you who don't know, the House Oversight has, I believe, subpoenaed, I don't know if it's just a document request or subpoenaed, several aides close to President Biden. They're trying to get some sort of session with the doctor, his doctor, to basically find out if there was some sort of cover-up of his condition. Did you at all advise Oversight Chairman James Comer to do that? Chairman
Comer decided that.
Okay. But clearly that's not what your panel is doing and not your preference.
We got, as I said, we're focused on Christopher Wray coming in, and particularly in light of what happened Saturday, I think that's where you're going to see the bulk of the questions is going to be on that subject. So we're focused on that.
What do you make of Chip Roy wanting to have some sort of resolution calling on the cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment? Do you think that should be taken up?
That's up to Kamala Harris and the cabinet. That's how our Constitution works.
But House Republicans shouldn't take a vote on that per se?
I think that's a call. I think it's a call for the Vice President. Our system, the 25th Amendment, I have to go back and look at it closely, but I think it's the Vice President calls the cabinet together. You need a majority of the cabinet to move ahead. I have to go back and look at it, but that's how it's initiated and put into motion.
So if Biden were to step aside and Democrats choose a new nominee, the RNC has indicated that they will fight this in court. I'm wondering if there's a role for judiciary here, whether it's just advising things, or I don't know. I'm just curious.
I don't know. But now that you've raised that question, I'm going to have some of our lawyers our good lawyers on our staff dig into that a little bit more.
Where's Tyler?
I don't know if I don't know if there's a role that we play or not. And I don't know. I hadn't even thought about it. So if the president steps down, if President Biden steps down, I just assume Kamala Harris is their nominee. Vice President Harris, I should say, is their nominee. But if they try something different, I don't know.
Well, I think that the RNC has indicated even if they tried to just, pass to Kamala, they're going to fight that as well. I don't know the merits of it, but anyway, we can follow up with that another time. Okay, so Republicans are finalizing their impeachment report, and I know you would personally vote in a heartbeat to impeach Biden, but realistically...
I've not said that. I said we're an impeachment inquiry. We're going to get the evidence. We're going to put it forward.
Come on, I know you.
I think the case is compelling, but that's I've been consistent in saying that.
Realistically, isn't it over?
Well,
politically, you don't have the votes.
We're putting the report together. The report will be... we've got 3 committees working on it, Oversight, Ways and Means, and Judiciary. We will have that. I think the report's going to lay it all out it's going to be big, but it's going to lay it out in the concise way as you can, something of this magnitude. And then we will present that to our House leadership team and the full Congress, because this is a vote for the House of Representatives. And if we move that direction, we'll see. But we're still working on putting that report together.
Do you think there should be a vote either way on this, whether he should be impeached?
No, that's a call for leadership, whether they bring that up, and they'd have to kind of survey the members of the House Republican Conference and the Congress, or the House, I should say. So we'll see, but we think our report's going to lay it out in the compelling fashion I've talked about it. We always come back to the fundamental question: what was Hunter Biden getting all the money for? And his business partner told us. Devin Archer told us. Access to the brand, and the brand was Joe Biden. And the most compelling example, of course, is the example of Hunter Biden and his involvement with the Ukrainian energy company Burisma, and what he did as a member of that board, and how then Vice President Biden leveraged the $1 billion loan guarantee to get the guy fired who was applying the pressure to the board, or to the company. So I think those facts and others we will have laid out in that report.
So you talk often about the Biden administration or DOJ being, quote, weaponized. But the Biden we have seen in the past, couple weeks, especially at the debate, was a president who at times struggled to even articulate and finish a sentence or articulate a coherent argument. And so I guess I'm wondering, it seems to me that Biden can't both be sort of this mastermind of this, effort to go after his opponents, and also feeble-minded, as Republicans like to say. Which one is it?
Well, it's the Biden administration. It's his administration. Whether it's Jack Smith and what he's doing, or what I think this whole effort from the left to go after President Trump, which has been an 8-year ordeal, starting with spying on the campaign, Mueller investigation, impeachment, raiding his home, Jack Smith special counsel, Fonnie Willis, Alvin Bragg, all 4 cases, the judge in New York, the decisions he made on the gag order and everything else, 14th Amendment, trying to, best way to beat him is not let him play, keep him off the ballot. Thank goodness the Supreme Court said 9-0. That was crazy. And then on it goes. So it's been this escalation from the left, and much of that from the Biden administration. Not to mention how they tried to, this was the big story a year ago, was how they tried to do the Hunter Biden sweetheart deal. And thank goodness for Mr. Shapley and Mr. Ziegler, who came forward as whistleblowers at the IRS and laid out the facts for us there. And then suddenly, whoa, Shazam, no more sweetheart deal, and now we're going to make David Weiss a special counsel, even though he already had the sweetheart deal put together and was going to try to get it through court. So I think it's all that is, so that's just not Joe Biden, but that's his administration, that's the left, that's the Democrats.
So your panel, as you mentioned, is suing for access to the Biden videotapes with special counsel Robert Hur. I believe you just recently filed some sort of appeal to the court to advance this, go quickly, right?
Two and a half weeks ago.
To speed it up, essentially, you guys want to do that.
Yeah, we went to court, and we'd like to get an answer, soon.
But you and I both know from, me from years of covering Congress, and you from being on Oversight, that these things take years. And oftentimes you don't get the information you want until the president you're probing is already gone. And so I guess I'm wondering if you think that there should be some sort of changes, I don't know if it would be a bill of some sort, to try to force the courts to adjudicate these disagreements between the executive branch and the legislative branch more quickly. I know you're no fan of Adam Schiff, but the shoe was on the other foot, just a couple years ago with Democrats.
Yeah.
And they talked about something like this.
Yeah.
Now you're in the position. Is this something that maybe Congress should look at?
Yeah, I get a little nervous. about some of that. I mean, it's frustrating when you want the information, you can't get access to it, and it's frustrating when you call them in, call in the heads of these agencies, and their ongoing investigation. We can't get you we can't answer that question. So that's always frustrating, but we still got the best system going. It's you know, I think this was we saw this week with Judge Cannon. Like, the Constitution means what the Constitution says, and it's a great day for President Trump. More importantly, I think it was a great day for the Constitution and the rule of law. So I get nervous about trying to impact this amazing country, the best country ever, the best system ever. Sometimes you got to be careful about changing it too. So I get a little nervous about that. But I like information faster, of course. But I get a little nervous about us changing it, because sometimes we make it worse.
Not to geek out or anything, but the congressional subpoena doesn't have much power right now. But okay, so you just mentioned Eileen Cannon. That's actually something I want to go to next. So you are obviously a big supporter of Donald Trump's. You were probably excited. I think you just expressed that you were glad to hear that Judge Eileen Cannon threw out the classified documents case. But purely from an oversight perspective, I'm wondering if you have any concerns if the ruling if the ruling stands as it is now. Doesn't it make it harder to sort of probe a president from now on?
No, I think it's the issue was Jack Smith wasn't named special counsel in an appropriate way because he'd never been confirmed by the Senate, and you can't just create some office. That was the whole thing, and I think it stems largely from Justice Thomas's opinion in the concurring opinion in the immunity case. So I think that's plain and simple. That's just the Constitution. If Merrick Garland had picked a U.S. attorney who had been confirmed, you wouldn't be able to make this argument. The case would still be going on. Now, there's other problems with the case. Remember, a few weeks ago, we learned that they altered the sequence of the documents they had seized from President Trump's home, which you can't do. The scanned documents didn't match up with the actual physical documents, and the special counsel Smith's team had to file with the court saying, yeah, it doesn't match up. That's a problem. So there were already all kinds of problems, not to mention the different treatment that special counsel Hur found Joe Biden violated knowingly disclosed classified information and gave it to someone who wasn't allowed to get it. Found that, but he doesn't get charged, but President Trump does, and they raid his home, and they altered the sequence, and so there's all kinds of problems with that case already. But the fundamental question is what Judge Cannon answered. It's been appealed. They're going to appeal it, so we'll see what happens. Yeah.
So special counsels are supposed to be sort of insulated from politics, and under this ruling, we basically have presidential appointees doing the investigating and the charging. And from my understanding, unless Congress actually passes a law authorizing an outside appointment, that sort of would be what you're left with. But you guys wanted a special counsel on Biden, and under this ruling, from my understanding at least, that wouldn't even be allowed, right? Because the Senate Democrats would never go for, and why would Biden ever sign a special counsel into himself?
Well, I mean, again, back up to the basics here. The reason you think a special counsel is warranted in the Biden situation is because you're talking about his son being investigated. If ever there was a fact pattern that cried out and warranted some kind of special counsel, that would be the one. Instead, what happened is you had David Weiss from Delaware investigating this all. He tried to put the sweetheart deal together, and then he was named. The very guy who put the sweetheart deal together was named as the special counsel by the Biden administration after they got caught trying to sneak the deal past the judge, past the court. That's why I think you saw Republicans say, "Wait a minute, this never should have, played out this way."
Well, that is all the time we have for right now. Obviously, people should keep an eye on Chairman Jordan throughout this investigation into the attempted assassination attempt of Donald Trump. And maybe you should give the scoop to Playbook when you actually call in those people on the ground who are going to be testifying. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
All right. Thank you.